10 questions every Christian must answer. I've got to answer these. I've just got to do it, or I guess I'm not Christian. Hey guys, I'm kind of enjoying doing these. This is the third one that I've made in regards to this guy's video clip. I'm answering number 7 this time. I'm not doing them in order. I don't know if I'll do all 10, but I just kind of think and pray about them and come up with different ideas to address these questions. Number 7 is this question here. Why didn't any of Jesus' miracles in the Bible leave behind any evidence? Well, first off, if you look over Scripture, you're going to find that all of the miracles were kind of temporal in nature, meaning they were healings. Jesus' ministry was to seek that was lost. You see a testimony that is reported to John's disciples to tell John's disciples about the blind seeing and the lame walking. And this is to be a sign to John that he truly was the Messiah. And John the Baptist knew that these miracles would be what the Messiah would do. So his miracles were really going to be surrounding around people because he loves people, and that was his mission, was to save that which was lost. So you see the blind seeing and the lame people able to walk. He healed lepers. He turned water to wine. We know that's recorded. But I guess it was really good wine because they drank it all up. They didn't save any. So the miracles were very temporal in nature. So first off, question number 7, we could simply say is unreasonable and just ridiculous because we know what the miracles recorded were, and they wouldn't leave any evidence behind. But with that said, I did find this in Mark 8, verse 22 through 26. We see a blind man that is healed by Bethsaida. And let me pick this up in 23. He took the blind man by the hand and led him outside the village. When he had spit on the man's eyes and put his hands on him, Jesus asked, "Do you see anything?" He looked up and said, "I see people. They look like trees walking around." Once more, Jesus put his hands on the man's eyes. Then his eyes were opened, his sight was restored, and he saw everything clearly. Okay, so here you see this healing, and it's kind of a 2-step healing. He first touches his eyes once, and do you see anything? And he sees people walking around like trees. What a peculiar thing to record in the Bible. I mean, if this were a man-made document, the last thing I'd want to put in is some stupid statement about people walking around like trees. I mean, is it a typo? I mean, obviously, if man had made up this document, they would have edited that out as some kind of a weird, bizarre thing. Why would you record that in there? What we discovered about our eyes and our brain is the fact that our eyes are just the mechanics, obviously, of taking images in and broadcasting them to our brain, and our brain has to digest the information that it's seeing. All of the images that come into our brain when we're quite young, toddling around, taking in images, we are basically cataloging and filing all the information in shapes. And we recall that information, and we put words and descriptive ideas around the images so we can recall and make sense of what we're seeing. That's how the brain works. The brain has to identify everything so it makes sense. Now, how do we know this? Well, we know it from studying it just plain and simple, but we also know of this from a great little testimony here. A California man by the name of Mike May. He was blind for 43 years, and they did an experimental surgery on him. He regained his sight, and he had a lot of trouble with his newfound sight. All the shapes and images weren't making any sense to him. Let me read an excerpt from one of the articles. 2 years after the surgery, Mr. May was able to see form, color, and motion almost normally. However, his 3D perception and face and object recognition was still severely impaired. Mr. May could only identify around a quarter of the common objects shown to him, and he was also only able to tell if an unfamiliar face was male or female 70% of the time. He is struggling, after being blind most of his life, to make sense about what he's seeing, and his 3D images aren't registering for him. He struggles identifying curbs, how steep they are, how tall they are, the shadows that they cast. They're all flat to him. He's really struggling to see, or actually to make sense with what he's seeing. And isn't that what's recorded here in Mark 8? we see that Jesus does a two-step healing on this blind man in Bethsaida, where basically he's seeing things, but he can't identify whether they're people or trees. It's not making any sense to the man. The second time, his vision is restored. And so there you have it, evidence that Jesus' miracles did occur, scientifically proven thousands of years later. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Bob for the Truth for You to See. Uh-oh, almost committed plagiarism there. Hey, I'd watched this video. I was playing, editing it and stuff, and I realized I come off as if I thought of this all by myself, and that's just not the truth. I was watching the Discovery Channel. They did a report on the Mike May story. That made me recall something I'd heard from Ravi Zacharias from rzim.org Ministries. He's a brilliant apologist. He's the one that I first heard the connection between Mark 8 and long-term blind people gaining their sight back, and the struggle that they have with determining three-dimensional objects and so on and so forth. So anyway, just wanted to give credit where credit was due. Ravi Zacharias, brilliant speaker. That's where I first had heard that. So yeah, thanks again.